Hello and welcome to my channel, Cid-1. Today we'll be showing these old electronics meters. This is considered the holy grail of collecting these old meters. Now this the Cid-1 was marked as property of the U.S. government. CDV-710. Made by Electronics. This is the Rad-Tek. Came out at the same time. Also SCDA item 710. Even though these were made to be sold to the private sector, or the public, actually the public sector. This was sold through Sears. It says it right here. Distributed through Sears. I have to assume, I don't know because there's not a lot of information, that they probably filled the contract on these to the government for the Cid-1s, and then maybe they had an overrun, or maybe they thought they were going to be selling more, and they just at some point they decided to silk screen them differently and sell them through Sears. Now the only thing that's different really about these is internally these are kind of a pain because these O-rings are always falling off these gaskets. If you look at this, the ion chamber, it's black just like the other one, but it's not really heavily coated. It's only like painted. Where on the, actually I already have this one open. On this one you can see it's really thick. They put like a varnish on it. So maybe they were having moisture problems or something, so they kind of coated it. This one I opened up just to show what it looks like. I'll open up the whole thing. This one I don't have a gasket on, it's missing a gasket. See, this one's real thick. Hard. It's really hard. It might have been softer years ago, but they took 5 22.5 volt batteries, which I didn't bring one with me. They go in here, and then one D cell goes in here. They use these little knurled nuts to hold the cover on, the battery cover. Actually, it goes this way. Put it on like that. And of course, like I said, these gaskets are a real pain to try to get these meters back together. Usually what I do is I get the gasket on, then I have to get this in, and I have to fill the gasket on just to try to get it to snap on. Now this one I pulled the cover off, the nuts that are holding the cover. So you could kind of see inside. I don't know if you'll be able to see inside there. There's one little sub-miniature vacuum tube right here for the amplifier. And 3 high meg resistors in here to give you your times 1 times 10 and times 100 on your selector. They got the old pin type, or for attaching. It's just a piece of phenolic wafer with some pins on it for hooking the resistors on it, and it's just wired. They used to do this kind of stuff back in the 50s and 40s and earlier. It's kind of a mess. These things are actually pretty much handmade, each one. I don't know if you can see the schematic. Let me see if I can show it. Let's see if it'll show up. It's not really showing up. The light here. Okay, you see that? It's you can kind of see it a little bit. This one has a serial number stamped right here, which says 1801. I don't know how many of these meters they were made. There's no information. Seems to be very little information on these things. They are very rare. This Rad-Tek was actually used by Civil Defense, so it has a Civil Defense sticker. I've only ever seen two of the Cid-1s come up for sale in like the last 15 years, or definitely 12 years, and I've only seen two Rad-Teks come up for sale on eBay, yeah, over the same period of time. Oh, this one's got a messed up gasket sitting in it. See, it's also, both of these Cid-1s, they're only like painted or very little varnish on these ion chambers. And, you know, so I don't know if, see, they didn't write a serial number. There's no serial number in here, but there's a serial number on the unit here. Or there was. You got 983. This one is 1138. Now this one, if you look at this one went through the, it was either called the reclamation process or the dispensation process. I can't remember what they called it back in the 60s. They were bringing these back in. These 710s were being taken back in because they were, oh no, this is 720. They were changing over to the 715s in early 60s, around 61 or so, 62. So they were bringing these 710s in, and they would check them with batteries to see if they circuit checked. If they did, they would, obviously this must have been an early one where they gouged it up with like a grinder. Took some of the markings off. They actually left property of U.S. government on it. I don't know why they did that. You would think they would have taken that off instead. This one, you can see where they took off the CDV and they took off Federal Civil Defense Administration, but they still left property of government on it, which is kind of odd. Usually they would, here's a different meter. This is a Model 2. They painted them with gray paint later on. That's how they would, so if it's circuit checked, they defaced them one way or another, and then they sold them to the public or sold them through government auctions to like Army surplus stores or whatever, and then they would sell them to the public so that people could have a high-range radiation detector, even though these weren't anywhere near as high range as the CDV 715, because the 715 goes up to 500 Roentgens, and the 710s only go up to 50 Roentgens. So these were obsolete. They were taking them out of service. Now, I don't have any. There's very little information I've been able to find on these things, and they are very rare, very hard to find. Even the Rad-Teks, like I said, these are the only two I've ever found. This one's pretty beat up, scratched up. This one's much nicer, actually, and well, like this one, as I would get a meter, first I had this one on the shelf because I couldn't get one of these because they're almost non-existent. Then I found this one, put that on the shelf, took this one off. Then finally I got this one. All of these two were buy nows. These two were auctions. But I actually had to go against a couple other guys for this one. This one auction nobody went after, so I was the only one to bid on it. Which is usually the case. Either it's a buy now or I'm the only one bidding, which is good because I really hate bidding against other people on these things. Yeah, so I don't know what else I can really show on these things. It would be nice to find some more information on these. but it's kind of been lost to history. This one actually says 1870, looks like 9 for the serial number, but it's actually on the inside, but you can't read it too good. It's really hard to read in there. So I really don't know if how many they made, how many they destroyed in the 60s, because a lot of them, if they didn't pass the test, they went to the garbage can and dropped them in a garbage can, and they ended up in landfills. So that's why there's so few of these things out there now. And even in this altered version where they kind of wrecked it a little bit, but it was done by the government, so it still has, you know, collector value. It's just not as nice as the pristine, never been altered version. You know, usually it's pretty hard to find one that hasn't to find one at all. But to see one that didn't go through the process. Somehow this ended up on a shelf somewhere and it ended up on eBay without being wrecked in the 1960s. So I'm not sure what else I could show. I mean, I did actually throw some batteries in this one today. I've never put batteries in it, and I was able to get it to 0, but it kind of went haywire on the other switches. These other ones, I've never actually put batteries in any of these things because they take so many, you know, 22.5 volt batteries. So I don't know, it's that's about it, I guess. Maybe I'll just show quickly. Here's a Sears catalog. This one's from 1955, so it's a year later. They did, I got this just to see, I got a 54 and a 55, just to see if I could find the sale of one of these Rad-Teks in there, but there was nothing. There's some other meters, but you know, no yeah, like this one's kind of similar, but that was the Tower brand, which was actually made by Electronics also. So these are the Electronics Rad-Tek and Cid-1. I would even say the Rad-Teks are almost as rare, if not as rare, as the Cid-1s. So they're basically both the Holy Grail, basically, which you take your pick. And I guess that'll be the end of this video. That's about all I can really say on these things. Okay, take care. Bye.